Hey, Kevin here from DIYDork.com. Today I want to show you a cool makeover I did on this dresser I picked up off of Craigslist for 40 bucks. So check this out. Alright, so here is the dresser that I'm working with. It has really nice lines on it, but there's a couple things off on it and a couple things that need some work. Alright, so you can see here it's missing some veneer on the front edge there, and then the bottom of this drawer is a little bit chipped up. Otherwise the drawers would be in good shape. I wish I could leave them all wood, but because that one's messed up, I have a cool plan to kind of cover that up with some paint. Alright, then on the side you can kind of see there's some stains going on, and then down at the bottom it's been chipped up. It looks like it had some water damage at some point, so I'm gonna have to fix that. Same thing over here on the other side. You can see over here they tried to fix it with, I don't even know what that is. I don't think it's Bondo, it's some kind of goop. They tried to match the color, but they did a really bad job. So anyway, that doesn't look good. Also, it has a laminate top, which is like a plastic. So the rest of it is like a veneer, which is kind of real wood, which is easy to work with, but laminate is always hard to paint because paint will peel off. So what I'm gonna have to do with it is just sand it so it has a little tooth to it, and then I'll have to use some spray paint primer. I found that sticks really well, and then other paint will stick on top of that. The other thing is it just looks off. I think it used to have legs. It doesn't have legs anymore, but it has little nubs on the bottom, and I just don't think they ever designed it to look that low to the ground. So I'm actually going to add my own legs to it, or well, store-bought, but I mean I'll add a set to them, and should go pretty awesome. So my plan is to do all the body work and then paint the body white, and then the drawers here, you can see there's a really cool detail right down the middle. And all the drawers look good except for that bottom one I pointed out. So I think what I'm going to do is actually just paint these bottom corners where they're a little messed up and keep the rest wood. I think it'll look kind of cool. So anyway, let me get started on it. Alright, so I got everything sanded and wiped down so it's all clean, and I think what I need to do now is start doing some Bondo work. So it's a pretty simple fix for something like that. Just smear some on there, sand it down, but the bottoms and these sides are pretty rough. As you can see, it's particle board, so this is not a super nice piece, and I don't know if it'll show, but can you kind of see how the sides flare out? So apparently got water damage, and all of the particle board kind of swelled up, so it kind of flared out and it's all chipped away. So there's some like really major chunks missing. Go over here, you can see it's doing the same thing. I mean, those are some bad spots. So I think instead of using regular Bondo there, I'll use some of the fiberglass Bondo. It's a little stronger, it's harder to work with and looks really gross, but it'll be really strong for like a nice foundation, and then I can smooth over it with Bondo. And it's not exactly the right way to do it, but I'll just go ahead and keep it flared out. I'll just make it look better. I mean, it's not a super nice piece anyway, and this is all about flipping it and not making it perfect. So I'll go ahead and start doing Bondo next. Alright, so I got all of the Bondo work done, and does it look mind-blowingly amazing? No, but it looks a lot better. At least it's solid now. So when I paint over it, especially with a light color, you shouldn't be able to tell too much. But I'll show you the other side. Of course, the bottom here looks terrible, but that's not a big deal because of what I'm explaining next. Alright, so what I want to do now is be able to mount some legs on the bottom of it. And I just don't like the surface here or here. I mean, you can see it's kind of missing a little chunk there. So what I think I'm going to do is actually just lay a little piece of 1x4 right across here, okay, on both sides, and then that way I have a nice solid place to mount legs, and I can kind of adjust them wherever I want. Now it might look a little goofy having a gap right in here in the middle, so I might go ahead and make a little piece right here as well, covered up so it looks like it's the same thickness all the way around. And hey, I might even get a little fancier than I normally do and put a 45-degree miter in there just to make it look a little better. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I need to go ahead and start priming this piece. Now I sanded it all the way down to the raw veneer here, plus I have Bondo spots, and I've noticed when I use my regular water-based color blocking primer that these spots will pop through. Some of the wood will pop through and turn yellow, so I'm actually going to just use some cheap white spray paint primer first. It's oil-based, it'll cover all that up. I can kind of smooth it out, then I can put on my primer and my paint. So I'm going to do all of that next. Alright, so the dresser body is now ready to go. I got it spray primed and sanded nice and smooth, so I can go ahead and start painting. Now right before I add the paint, I think I'm still going to go ahead and roll on some color blocking primer that's water based. And I know it's kind of an extra step, which I should start actually just buying oil based color blocking primer. I can roll it on, it'll do the same thing as my regular spray primer here, and then I can just paint on after that. But I didn't have that right now, so I went ahead and spray primed. But when you spray prime, it's really thin, so you can still see some of the wood grain. You can kind of see it popping through there, and it looks cool, except whenever you do body work, and I don't know if it'll show on camera, but you can actually, if you look at it up close, you can see a line where all the bondo is, because it's perfectly smooth. There's no wood grain whatsoever, and then the rest is, so it looks a little weird. So that thicker primer will fill that in really nice. So anyway, that's what I'll do. I'll go ahead and start priming and painting that, and then the body will be done. Alright, now for the drawer fronts, what I did is I sanded them smooth, and then I added a couple of coats of that wipe-on poly, and really made the color pop of the wood grain. Looks really nice. You can see that detail showing through the center. Looks awesome, and it's just a shame that they all had a couple little gouges and things that I had to fix with some Bondo. So you can see right here, like that's the worst one. That whole corner was gone, so I filled it in with Bondo. There's a little chunk missing there. Same thing here, it had a little chunk missing. And I got lucky because all of those happen to be on the bottom edge. So what I'm actually going to do is only partially paint them, keep as much of wood grain as I can. So I'm actually going to run tape from that corner down here to this corner, and from there to that. And then these bottom edges right here are going to get covered with paint. And I can keep most of the wood and have a cool little paint detail, so I can kind of get best of both worlds there. So what I'll do is after I run the tape on there, I'll seal it with a little bit of spray clear, and that way it'll seal that tape edge so that none of my paint will leak through. So that's kind of a cool little trick you can do. So I go ahead and tape those and paint them as well. Alright, and check it out. There it is all finished. Turned out really nice. I went with kind of a silvery dove gray for the body, and of course the painted drawer fronts on the corners take care of all the little spots that needed body work. And then even down here on the bottom, they look a lot better than they did. You can barely tell they even bulge out, so those look pretty nice too. And then for the legs, I added a little bit of stain to try to match the original stain on there, and I think it's actually pretty close. It looks pretty good. So there you go. That was a pretty cool little makeover on a little $40 Craigslist find.